Impact on Your Health is sponsored by Dennis J. Courtney, M.D., Director of the Courtney Medical Group, located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray, Pennsylvania. For more information or to make an appointment, call 724-942-3002. That's 724-942-3002 for Dennis J. Courtney, M.D.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to AIM Impact on Your Health. AIM Impact on Your Health, where every day our goal is to have you learn at least one thing to help you live better and longer. AIM Impact on Your Health, heard each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9 o'clock. I'm Dr. Dennis Courtney, and I'm with you each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9. AIM Impact on Your Health, where each day you'll find current medical news, knowledgeable guests, fascinating health topics, and of course, where we do encourage you to call in to join in. Today is it's a Friday version of the show. It is certainly a get 'em up, out of town version of that show. We will invite you to come on in at any time. Anything on your mind, it's okay with me. 412-825-6262 to ask any question, make any comment. Number of shows have gone by the boards, and you may very well like to weigh in on any one of them. Also, too, we're going to bring a good friend of ours, Jeri Singleton, back on the air today, talking about some MCG testing. By the way, it lets you in sort of behind the scenes on a very interesting thing that occurred here in the office last Thursday while we were doing the entire group of MCG tests that we did. There were well over 25, I think, 23 to 25, somewhere in that range. Anyway, I guess Jeri to come aboard because I think something very interesting took place. I predicted it, and lo and behold, it happened, and I'll let you share in that. As we do get with Jeri today, you may have a question about MCG testing. Certainly, you'll want to give him a call, 412-825-6262. We'll take it up out of town in fine fashion today with your help, of course. And I'm looking forward to hearing from you once again, 412-825-6262. Now, as we are turning the page today. Today's the 29th of April. By the time Monday rolls around, we're going to be into the month of May. Absolutely. Now, on Monday, because there's been so much fervor, I mentioned having heard a lot about it, talking about thyroid disease. I mean, it has been all over the KHB family. And I thought it was very appropriate to have Brian Foltz, a representative of the Standard Process Company, with us on Wednesday. And we really confined our remarks to the company in general, and then specifically thyroid issues. I thought, because I really feel that I'm treating a lot of thyroid disease, and it's becoming a number one concern of mine, I'd share with you some of those additional information and points that I didn't necessarily make emphasis with on Wednesday. Now, you'll be ready on Monday because I'm going to give you those 6 blood tests. Now, it seems that every time I come up with a list, there's a number. Well, there was the 9 cardiovascular blood tests for your inflammation factors. And many times I have done a show going over those 9. By the way, remember when it was 8? And then we found out there was another one and we made it 9. And by the way, don't be surprised if we come up with a number 10, as medical science will do, by the way, and we'll add it to the list. But I have never really done a show on the thyroid and those blood tests because I'll tell you what, I think they are woefully inadequate when they are performed out there in the conventional medical community. So I want you to know what blood tests to be asking your doctors to get to make certain that you're getting a real fair shake when it comes to those blood tests. And I'll be talking about that on Monday. So you'll want to have a pencil and paper ready to be able to go over what I just labeled this morning as I was sitting down here. Perspectives on thyroid disease, my perspectives, and how it is that if you're going to be working with your doctor, you'll need to help them along just a bit to make sure that all bases are covered. Then on next Wednesday, Susan Smith-Jones returns. She's going to be talking to you about the various forms of detoxification, cleansing, the spring cleaning issue. Normally that's the April thing, but we're even into May, beginning of May. getting back with Susan Smith-Jones on that particular topic. Now, as we swing into the second week, it is just action-packed around here. Let's take the sort of the rare festivity. Yes, we have an eye treatment seminar going to be conducted the second week of May here in my office. You've heard a lot about it now. I understand, by the way, that the slots for the actual treatment seminar are now closed. That number has usually been set at 10. So although I haven't talked to Dr. Kondrat directly, and I will be, and in fact I'll be trying to bring him on the show hopefully next Friday before he leaves from Phoenix to come to Pittsburgh, just to get a couple last minute points from him. So this particular eye treatment seminar is closed. However, you might be very anxious and interested to find out if the eye treatment seminars that will be in the future, and there will be more, will be something that you would be looking forward to. So the open and general seminar that we're going to be having here in the office on Monday, May 9th, that is not closed. That is wide open. You'll not want to miss it. You'll want to spend some time with Dr. Ed Kondrat and myself here in my office, allowing Ed to give you, well, I think he calls it the 10 ways to improve vision and eyesight. I'll be talking to you briefly about a couple of things that we do here. And then I think the best thing to say about that evening will be that we're going to allow you to just keep asking us questions. If it has that personal touch, meaning you're involved and we're really talking about you, that's fine. If it's about a family member, that's fine too. Take us up on our offer to spend an evening with us here in the office, allowing you a sort of a free reign and free shot at us. The number to do that, to reserve that seat, is 1-800-430-9328. That, of course, is a Phoenix 800 number. Don't call it until sometime around noon. The treatment seminars with Dr. Ed Kondrat in the second week of May. Now, if that wasn't enough, we got two blockbuster shows coming up. The one that you did know about, which will be on the 13th, will be a return visit, a return match, if you will, with David Brownstein. And he's going to be talking about thyroid from his perspective as an author of a book on the subject. And you are well aware and anticipating his return. But here's one you don't know about because, well, I didn't know about it until yesterday, as a matter of fact. Cass Ingram. Now, he does get the place rocking. Dr. Cass Ingram, the king of oregano, is going to be with us on the Wednesday, the 11th. So I'm sure you'll be looking forward to having him return. I don't know what he's going to be talking about. If he just emerged from the woods, he's always in the woods. He's always looking for another item to add to his treatment armamentarium. We'll let Cass set the agenda on the 11th, unless he's supposed to email. That's it. Email me on the subject he'd like to talk about. As soon as he does email me, I'll let you know. We'll have plenty of time to find it out. And then, as was announced here on our Wednesday show, Standard Process is going to be in my office. If you want to learn more about their product line and specifically about products that might be helpful to you, Standard Process is coming into the office on the following Monday. That's the 16th, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm going to be here to discuss whatever you'd like to discuss about that product line, and that pretty much does it. It fills it up at least midway into the month of May, and more will be added to take it the rest of the way. Okay. Now we take a short break, and in the interim, let's go find Jeri. I want to share some things on the MCG testing. We haven't come up with a date in May yet, but there will be, of course. Those of you who might be interested in that are going to be able to give us a call in the near future about it. MCG testing, and an interesting thing that occurred last week while he was in the office. You'll get a kick out of this. I knew it was going to happen. It happened. I'll share it with you when we return with Jeri. Be back in a moment.
MCG. We become confused about how best to manage your health. It's no wonder. It seems that every time you turn on the television or radio, another expert has yet another suggestion. for you to follow that seems to be reasonable enough that no matter how dutifully you follow the instruction, it just doesn't quite produce the results that you are looking for. If this confusion sounds familiar to you, give us a call at the Center for Complementary Health, where we'll make some sense of the confusion based on a blending of traditional and alternative medicine that we've been perfecting over the last 7 years. We offer metabolic nutrition testing, immune system repair, natural hormone replacement therapy, chelation therapy, cutting-edge allergy correction, and a host of other safe and effective alternative therapies.
Dennis J. Courtney, MD, is located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray. Phone 724-942-3002.
Want to help your family eat healthier? Instead of learning to disguise tofu with wondrous ways, how about some real nutritional power? If your family has the typical American palate for fries, pizza, and burgers, giving your family the blessing of good nutrition is a struggle. Fruit of the Spirit is the answer for your family's nutritional needs. Fruit of the Spirit is an all-natural, whole fruit puree made from fresh fruits native to the Holy Land with alkalizing minerals. Fruit of the Spirit was 5 years in the formulation, the work of a team of top nutritional experts with independent science to confirm its antioxidant power. 1 ounce a day provides the equivalent of 5 servings of fruits and minerals. Fruit of the Spirit is convenient, affordable, and delicious. Even your picky family will sing the praises of Fruit of the Spirit. Give your loved ones the blessing of good nutrition. Call 1-800-442-3793 for a special promotional offer. Fruit of the Spirit, a blessing for your good health. That's 1-800-442-3793. Call them now, 1-800-442-3793.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome back once again to AM Impact on Your Health. Right here in KHB 620 each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9 o'clock. I'm Dr. Dennis Courtney with you on this Friday version of the show. It is a get 'em up, out-of-town version. We will open it up to you really to talk about anything on your mind whatsoever. Questions, comments. The number to do it is always 412-825-6262. I got a couple things on the plate that I'd like to bring up to your attention. And to do so, we re-invite, and we've had him on the show so many times, but each and every time, I will say this, each and every time that we get Mr. Singleton with us, he always, and he doesn't plan to, but he always comes out with a new blurb that becomes an earth-shattering blurb. I have no idea what it will be today, but he always does it to me, and I always mention it to you when he does it too. So I'll let you know today when he lays something new on me that he had never mentioned before. He mentioned so many things about this device, this MCG device that we've been offering to you. You've taken us up on our offer. You've really availed yourselves of the wonderful results and knowledge that can be gained by achieving those results on MCG testing. Jeri is the wizard of the MCG machine. He comes aboard with us today. Let's say good morning and welcome back, Jeri. Thanks for allowing us to invade your morning once again.
Hi, how are you doing, Dr. Courtney?
Doing extremely well today, Jeri. It is a Friday, and I guess you're out to play with the MCG machine, but it is a weekend, and I understand your weekends are free, Jeri. Is that right?
Yes, they are.
Okay, you do cherish them, don't you, Jeri?
I do. They don't come fast enough.
All right, so to allow you to have just a fun weekend, we're going to put you through some paces here today, talking about this MCG device once again, and I'm going to let you take a few minutes in your own words to tell us what MCG stands for, what the device is supposed to do. So many of our listeners already know, but there's always that one or two new ones, and for them, and I feel that I would be leaving you out in thin air, you wouldn't have a clue what we're talking about. Unless you do, take us down that lane again, Jeri. What is MCG testing? What's it supposed to do? And as much information as you can pack in a couple of paragraphs to do put it in a nutshell for us.
For sure. The MCG is really a machine that we've utilized a number of times, I know in your office, Dr. Courtney, and also a number of cardiologists and primary care physicians all across Western Pennsylvania. We use it for the detection of coronary disease, and then also the tracking of coronary. And when I talk about coronary disease, many of you are familiar with it or have heard of it. And what that is, and I'm sure we've all seen about a half a dozen commercials It is the development of plaque accumulation in the coronary arteries that surround our heart. Those are the arteries that provide oxygenated blood to our heart, and when they become lined with plaque, those arteries begin to narrow. They begin to lose elasticity. Years ago they used to say that the arteries would harden, and what happens is with that, it puts a patient at greater risk for a heart attack or a stroke, requiring them to have bypass surgery or a stent. So for those reasons, many patients out there that I'm sure are listening, many of your listeners, Dr. Courtney, I'm sure, there's people out there on blood pressure medication, there's people out there on cholesterol medication, and those are really the patients that have probably some level of plaque, some suspected level of coronary disease that we're trying to track. Now, the other group of listeners out there that, and probably maybe even more prevalent, at the moment, are patients that feel pretty healthy. They don't believe they have any coronary disease. They feel fine. They're not on any medication. But yet they have some family history. Maybe they have some of the risk factors: obesity, diabetes, elevated blood pressure. Maybe they live an inactive lifestyle, genetics, certainly, high cholesterol, high blood pressure. There's a whole list of them. But really, when a patient has one or more of those factors, especially the genetic component, because genetics seems to really be very prevalent, and in the past several years, we find more and more that we see, even in the news and in the paper, it affects, everybody. There's articles where, kids on at the high school level or, in athletic sport programs, fall over on the, pass out or have a massive coronary event right on the sports field. So, it really doesn't just affect, many patients think, well, that'll happen to me when I get older, but really, they found, I know they found that even infants begin to develop atherosclerotic streaking in their coronaries if they're genetically a higher risk.
Predisposed, huh? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. There we go. That's what I was looking for.
I'll give you the word.
So absolutely, yeah. So it's one of the things that, it is the number one cause of death in the United States. It's the number one cause of emergency room visits in the United States. So it's something, and it's very scary because it can be very fatal and very dangerous, because most of the time patients either don't have symptoms or their symptoms are very minimal, and it makes it easy for patients to think, oh, well, I just get that when I'm really working outside a lot, or I just when I get stressed, or it makes it easy to think it's something minor, until they have their first heart attack or stroke, and many patients aren't aware that they even have coronary disease until they go through something like that and find themselves in the emergency room for something similar. So this gives us the ability in about a 5 to 6 minute test fashion to test the patient really very quickly, non-invasively. There's no stress. There's no injections of like cardiolite or chrysanthine or any of the radioactive isotopes that many of us associate with cardiac testing. Coronary testing with stress tests and so forth is it's a rest-free test that you or a stress-free test rather that you're resting for 5 to 6 minutes. It's a 5-lead test. You keep all your clothes on. And it provides us a very high level of accuracy, which is pretty phenomenal. It has a 91% sensitivity and an 85% specificity. And what that is sensitivity relates to the machine's ability to truly identify someone that has the disease, and specificity is the ability to properly rule someone out that doesn't have the disease. So, and it's very accurate in both categories, much more so than other testing of its kind. And it really allows us to, and the power of this allows us to be much more liberal with the testing, so that we can test more patients out there that otherwise, wouldn't have a test, wouldn't be scheduled for like a stress test or a heart cath or things like that. And so there was something very pathological with their coronaries or suspected. And so this gives us the ability to test patients much more liberally to identify that early coronary disease so that we can put a plan in place to really prevent that development, because that plaque, it doesn't develop overnight, and many patients that will have a heart attack will tell you that they felt fine up until just very recent of a heart attack or a stroke. And, that's very unfortunate, but, obviously that plaque develops over years. It's not something that just happened the night or two before. So this really gives us the ability to take a look at a patient, even if they feel pretty healthy, depending on their circumstances and so forth, obviously. And we can test them, but even more important than that, we can test them periodically, because it is a very easy test to perform. When they come into the doctor's offices, as they normally would for annual checkups or maybe a couple times a year, we can test them on the machine to make sure they're not progressing. So even if they have a very low score, if it's very minimal, and what chances are we all have, most of the listeners out there probably have some level of plaque in the artery. It's a factor of how much. This gives us the ability to make sure it's not something that's progressing, and that's very, very important.
All right. I think good job in summation here. This real estate here, the heart, there's so much attention directed to it. Of course, number one leading cause of death, heart attacks, absolutely important in everybody's own health situation. And the ways that have been devised up to this point to gain information on it always have had the realm of invasiveness associated with it, Jeri. Like the cardiac cath itself probably has been the best way to get information, but boy, is that laden with some real problems and potential risks and side effects that could be devastating and even in some cases lethal. So although the results are wonderful in terms of being able to determine what's the status in that particular patient, the risks that one has to take along with identifying that information are risks that people just really aren't willing to take, shouldn't be willing to take, and to be quite honest, nobody's stepping up and asking for a cath. You literally have to be in the throes of a dangerous situation in order to have, in an emergency situation, have yourself taken to a cath lab. So nobody wants a cath, yet maybe someday they're going to get one at that critical moment. But to find out the information that a cath gives us has gone beyond just the caths themselves. Things like, well, you mentioned the Cardiolite scan. How about something called an ultra-fast CT scan? I think that's been used to help identify coronary disease. But that's CT scanning and quite a bit of X-ray exposure. Everywhere along the line, there are risks associated with gaining the knowledge, some minimal, some maximal. In this particular case, Jeri, you've got an ideal piece of equipment that has no risk factors associated with it, and I think that's what makes your piece of equipment so unbelievably helpful.
Oh, absolutely. I'm finding that to be really the belief more and more. This is a device that has been around. It was FDA approved in 2000. And in our area, it's really probably only been around for about 2 years or so, give or take. But in other areas, it's been commercially available for about 5 or 6. But I've been finding in our area, it's really been growing, more and more. Even yesterday, for example, I was training a nurse on how to use it at Allegheny General Hospital, and so it's really becoming more and more prevalent. More cardiologists are starting to take a look at it. More primary carers are starting to take interest in it because it offers a tremendous amount of value to the patient, to the physician. Even the insurance company. It can be extremely cost savings, for them to really identify something early, put a plan in place to try to maybe diet and exercise first. Other non-invasive therapies if available, and possibly maybe even medications if they're necessary, to really try to be very preventative in the approach well before something were to develop, and then we would be treating that patient when there may be fewer options available to us. Maybe that patient at that point would need a stent or bypass surgery, when we could have otherwise taken an approach with that patient to really put a plan in place early, when even though they felt healthy. They might have been a smoker, they might not have been compliant with their diet, they might have not been properly controlling their diabetes, and for them, they felt no consequence. But we can identify on this test and say, whoa, here's where you stand. You need to make some changes, and we can talk about those. And there's a number of options available to us to try to reverse that back before what becomes at very high risk for something like that.
We'll get into that in just a minute. Now, there you go again, Jerry, laying a piece of information on me. Every time we get on the air, you always do this. I never know when it comes, but here you've just revealed another piece of information that rocks my boat a bit. When you say Allegheny General, now Allegheny General started to get the device, and we beat Allegheny General by quite a few months, but that's the blurb that I'll live with from this conversation today. They're starting to wake up down at Allegheny General even, and you're out there spreading a little love dust and a little joy with your device in that bastion of conventional medicine. That's blockbuster information, Jerry, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, certainly, and again, there's a select group of cardiologists in the professional side of Allegheny General Hospital. There's three of them: Dr. Haggerty, Dr. Marr, and Dr. Strassi. And they're very excited about it. I know they've put it in both of their locations, one obviously being in Allegheny General Hospital. But it really goes to show that this does have a great deal of credibility. It is reimbursed by Medicare and most major insurance carriers, and so it's not something that is unproven or experimental. It really is validated, and it really offers a tremendous amount of medical value.
Now, you last time you were here, you did give me, because it appears like your company, whether or not there's study with your machine that's going on without their support and knowledge, it just happens to be moving out throughout the country, or whether your company's intimately involved with this, you keep showing me research that's being done with respect to, well, this particular study was one that revealed how this machine of yours, this MCG device, by the way, stands for Multifunctional Cardiogram, MCG. I still don't like it, Jerry. I think you need to change it to something else, but we're stuck with MCG for now. But you gave me a paper that mentioned how this stacks up with respect to cardiolite scanning, okay? And I thought it was really valuable information. You want to share with our listeners? Cardiolite scanning, of course, is a standard way that many cardiologists up till now study the coronary vasculature by injecting a radioactive dye, then taking x-rays of the side. So there is exposure to some risk here, and it has been used in most offices. They have nuclear, a lot of cardiologists have nuclear devices right in their offices to be able to do this. How does your device, with this new piece of literature you were able to lay on me, how does this new device of yours stack up when compared to the results of a cardiolite scan?
Well, that's a great question. We tend to be much, and again, we're not trying to replace stress testing, because it can offer some value in the right situations. But this offers us the ability, like I said, for patients that would otherwise maybe only have that as an option, to test a certain segment of patients that could have this done instead, or maybe first, and then if necessary, a stress test. But with stress testing, we find, and I just happened to go over a couple more cases this week with a physician, where the stress test was wrong, and the MCG was correct, and at first glance, because this is newer, physicians have a tendency to say, well, hey, the stress test was right, your MCG is wrong, and but sure enough, the patient continued to have symptoms and finally had a CAT done, and sure enough, the MCG was right and the stress test was wrong. And that's not to say that's going to be in every case, but in the studies that have been done, we found that there's one that's going to be published in the JACC, the Journal of American College of Cardiology, which is really the academic body for all things cardiology for the most part. They really are equivalent to the New England Journal of Medicine. And there's an article that's coming out here in June, and we had several presentations at the New Orleans conference here in April. Two studies that I shared with you, Dr. Courtney, that did indeed point out that stress testing, it was roughly 45% false, where MCGs were correct. Now, likewise, the stress test was about 40% right, and the MCG was right. But nonetheless, the stress test missed, almost half of those patients where the MCG was spot on. So, it's something to keep in the back of one's mind. Certainly, I know a number of cardiologists and primary care do, because there's a number of gender biases associated with stress testing, where it can be, the accuracy can be very limited. And stress testing only has between a 44% and a 91% sensitivity, which is a big gap, where we don't have that. We have our average sensitivity is 91%. So there's certainly some weaknesses to everything, but I have to say that more often I'm seeing more and more where stress testing can be either inconclusive or false, providing a false positive where the MCG can be accurate.
Yeah, I think it is really important. It looks as though, to me, what's shaken out here is that the best place to go first, because you should always move anyway from the least invasive toward the most invasive. That's just a general rule that's safe for anybody to follow. And so, even though when the stress test using cardiolite scanning is invoked, it certainly has a lesser degree of risk than like a cardiac cath itself, no doubt about that. But still, it's X-ray exposure, and still, why would you go to that step first until I believe that the correct first step, and I'm sure your company is trying to move to the point where it does become so, that MCG testing should be the first one to do. There is no risk at all, and it's turning out that it's so much more accurate than any of the other tests, except for a cardiac cath itself, that any of the other tests are being used aren't as accurate as an MCG test. So to actually do it is the first step, as opposed to after you do those other tests, I think misplaces it. It should be the number one and first in the first position. Wouldn't you and your company agree?
Yeah, I would. I'd have to say that, and again, I'm not a physician, so I try to be limited in the claims that I make. But I've found, just in my personal experience, that with the studies that have been published by chest, circulation, certainly the articles that are in publication or coming out for publication, that tends to be fairly accurate. And I know a number of physicians are feeling that way more and more. And the stress tests can be very good as a backup. And certainly, if we need to know, there's certain information that a stress test can provide that we can't provide. But the first two questions in every physician's mind tends to be, does this patient have relative coronary stenosis or coronary artery disease? And if so, how severe is it? Now, if it requires, obviously, if we get kind of a bad answer on each of those, then sure, we want to know where specifically that blockage is going to be located. But as you identified, Dr. Courtney, because of the invasiveness, some of the risk factors, the fact that you are using a radioactive isotope on patients, and also the fact that, frankly, it's very expensive on patients and insurance companies. I mean, some stress tests can cost as much as $1,500. And for patients that have deductibles, I talk to offices all the time, the physicians or patients sometimes end up with like a $500 bill. And that can be very, for a test that has shortcomings, and I'm not saying that mine doesn't, it can be, if we can use something else first, that's certainly much less expensive, that has a very high degree of sensitivity and specificity, sometimes it makes more sense.
All right, fair enough. Here's what I'd like to do, Jeri. Let's take a short break.
Are you there, Dr. Courtney?
I'm right here. Are you still there, my friend? Jeri? All right, let's do this. We're going to take a short break. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we'll get reestablished with Jeri. When we come back, I'm going to share with you some interesting things that happened here last week. In particular, a special request by Jeri made of me during that time frame. I'll share that with you when we return. I think it's pretty doggone humorous, but let's see what you think about it. Be right back in a moment. with Jeri Singleton.
Have you been to the doctor lately? Was fatigue top of your complaint list? Even if your doctor asked you what you eat, the recommended 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day is a dream in your busy schedule. What if you learned of a product 5 years in the formulation that delivers 5 servings of fruits and minerals in just 1 ounce? That's right, it's Through the Spirit. The blessings of Through the Spirit are now formulated into a delicious whole fruit puree product rich in antioxidants and minerals. Your health is more than just a test result. It's a balance of physical, spiritual, and emotional factors. You work regularly to strengthen your faith. Let Through the Spirit help cover your nutritional needs in a convenient and cost-effective ounce a day. Call 1-800-442-3793 for a special promotional offer. Through the Spirit, a blessing to your good health. Through the Spirit, 5 servings of fruits and minerals with no added sugars. That's 1-800-442-3793 for your good health. Call them now. 1-800-442-3793.
This is Dennis J. Courtney, MD. Have you become confused about how best to manage your health? It's no wonder. It seems that every time you turn on the television or radio, another expert has yet another suggestion for you to follow that seems to be reasonable enough, but no matter how dutifully you follow the instructions, it just doesn't quite produce the results that you were looking for. If this confusion sounds familiar to you, give us a call at the Center for Complementary Health, where we'll make some sense of the confusion based on a blending of traditional and alternative medicine that we've been perfecting over the last 7 years. We offer metabolic nutrition testing, immune system repair, natural hormone replacement therapy, chelation therapy, cutting-edge allergy correction, and a host of other safe and effective alternative therapies.
Dennis J. Courtney, MD, is located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray. Phone 724-942-3002.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back once again to AM Impact on Your Health. Heard on this Friday morning version of our show today. It is a Get 'em Up Out of Town version of the show where we can let you come on in and help set the agenda if you'd like. The number to do that is 412-825-6262. Knock on the door. We'll let you in the store. Anything on your mind is okay with me. We've been spending the time with Mr. Jeri Singleton. Jeri, you there, my friend?
Yeah, I sure am.
Okay, just hang on in the background. We do have a knock on the door. Why don't we see what's in store for us on the other end of it? Come on in the store. You're with Jeri Singleton. Go right ahead. Hello. Hello? Ah, they gave up, Jeri. Okay. Hey, if whoever that was, if you get misdirected, I'll get the station a call once again, 412-825-6262. I'll be waiting to hear a knock on the door, and I'll let you in. Jeri, we've talked off air about this particular item a lot, and the very first time I think I met you, I told you, this was a number of months ago, that I felt that this was an absolutely wonderful device that could potentially occupy a new role of prominence in my office, and that my poor, unfortunate colleagues were really going to be at a disadvantage. And maybe you didn't understand me at the time, but now it's many months later and many testing seminars later, and as you can see what I do here in the office and how my office differs from the conventional medical doctor's office, I think you see emerging what I have always seen, which is our ability to actually go in and change these scores, and how we're going to do this, which makes the tool, this non-invasive tool, even more important, I feel, in our office setting than the majority of offices. And something unique happened last Thursday while you were here, that the moment it happened, I went, well, there it is, Jer. That's what I told you. And without using any names, Jeri, because I don't want you to do that, tell the listeners what you came to me with last Thursday when you were here doing all these tests.
Sure. Because this is a relatively new technology, as you mentioned, a number of the physicians are still trying to figure out, where it sits and exactly what to do with the scores and so forth. Because obviously they're used to a very conventional approach, and I'm not. Every physician has their own method and so forth, and I don't favor one over another, but they're when I find myself working with a new office, there certainly tends to be some confusion about what to do with the scores, at what score cutoff should we do, X, Y, or Z. And so, as you indicate, Dr. Courtney, I came to you last week, and another physician was looking to get some guidance as far as what to do with the scores and how to evaluate it best with the patient and how to review it and so forth properly. And that's kind of and that tends to be somewhat what I find, at least at the beginning of the process.
Well, do you mind if I pick up and run with that just a bit?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Because I made some observations early on, and what I said then, and I believe it's really starting to come true. And every time I'm with a patient, by the way, I happen to mention the same thing, which is when my esteemed colleagues who travel in more conventional terms as opposed to what I do get a hold of this test, I'm claiming that it's me, Jerry, it's not you. This is what I'm saying, okay? I believe that they're really at a disadvantage because when it comes time to have a patient who will be asking, well, what can we do about this, okay? You say you get a score, and the score is at 6 or a 7, which is some pretty significant coronary artery disease at that point. I believe the patient is really looking to be rescued, looking for ideas, looking for advice from their doctors in how to do that. And I've claimed, and I'm going to continue to say, that I think in that particular situation, the conventional medical community is at a severe disadvantage because when I look at what they have available to them, there's only but a few things. Number one, they can maintain the proper medication level for all the meds they have prescribed up to this point. And although it would be putting a patient in the proper health status, certainly nothing would be going awry, the actual process of cardiovascular disease moves on undeterred, unabated, and unbraked upon at all. And so I think that the scores actually are continue to progress. The only thing I find that in any way would be the advice that could be given by the conventional medical community actually gets a little bit silly if you think about a intelligent doctor being reduced to the point of advice and saying, well, we want you to exercise and we want you to lose weight and don't smoke, and these are the same things that my 9-year-old son learns in elementary school. And to think that that's about it, that these could be the only types of advices that could be forthcoming from the conventional medical community, I said, Jerry, they're at a disadvantage from the get-go. So when last Thursday rolled around, Jerry, and you brought me that request, first of all, let's just say this, Jerry, I didn't hesitate by wanting to respond to that doctor and helping her out, okay? She just really didn't see how she could be advising patients to correct their cardiovascular disease, their coronary disease, and I believe that her dilemma is a more common thread than it is unlike what the other doctors are going to have to confront, and how they have to make those changes that can make a difference in these diseases. And I think that what we do here, bar none, is able to do just that. You've seen what we do here. You're observing. You're a little intrigued now yourself to find out, hey, I wonder what these scores are going to turn out to be in Dr. Courtney's office, because we already talked about how to retest some of these patients on a more frequent basis than you would ordinarily do, just to be able to check them out. So, Jer, I know I did a little bit of literary license here, but I think that it was time to bring out what I believe to be a real blemish. I hope that machinery of yours gets in every doctor's office in every corner of the country, let alone Western Pennsylvania. But I think that there will be certain groups of doctors that could be really able to assist in getting patients turned around, and then a group of people that are going to be hamstrung at trying to help. And so that's my own personal commercial. I'm going to back off now, Jerry, but I think we're going to find this happening more and more. What do you think, Jerry?
Yeah, I mean, you bring up some good points, and it's very interesting as someone that's not a physician, and I have gone through my CIR training, and so I understand a lot of the different theories and so forth. It's a limited perspective, and so it's always interesting to see different approaches that physicians practice, and you see every treatment from some physicians really maximize statin usage. Other physicians really are more on the lifestyle changes. Other physicians are purely just interested as using this as a tracking tool. With patients if they present certain symptoms. Obviously, you have to be very cognizant of who you're testing and the reasons why. But in a sense, almost like they're using it as a tracking tool. For maybe even more interventional medicine if they peak up to that level. So everyone seems like they have their own take on it, and and that's kind of I always think that as a patient, just myself personally, you always kind of want to find someone that has the same kind of philosophy that you have, because there is doctors aren't all the same, and all doctors have, though their training may be very similar. I mean, you need to make sure that your ideas and your are being heard and by whatever physician practice you go to, and that's it's part of what you're looking at. Sometimes patients don't take as active of a role in their health care as they could, and it's something that I think is very important, just personally.
Well, I thought just a moment ago when you mentioned how you have seen the physicians respond out there to these scores, I thought it was telling. You just let a little blurb out there that some doctors would look right to the statin drugs and how to adjust the statin drugs to help this particular person. And to me, that really tells a big story, because to focus in on the cholesterol issue, where statin drugs have actually do change, absolutely lower cholesterol, no doubt about it, but to think that that's the change that's going to really change the course of events with respect to this person's coronary artery disease, I believe over time will prove itself to be woefully inadequate. And you're going to be able to see these, Jeri, because as you get these machinery of yours established in various doctors' offices, if you continue to see an advancing of scores, okay, and I believe you will, and when you compare it to other doctors that show that the scoring stops dead in its tracks, advances no further, and then backs up, a year or 2 or 3 from now, Jeri, you'll have a much different perspective than you have now, because you will have seen the whole thing play out in front of you. So maybe we're catching you a little too early yet. I'd like to have this discussion 3 years into the future to find out what you've learned. I'd be real anxious to hear how these tests shake out over that time frame. What do you think? I think that ought to be a back burner experiment that you and I do with one another.
Well, I think that not only will it be interesting to you and I, but I think it'll be interesting to insurance companies. I think it'll be interesting to other physicians, medical journals. I mean, keep in mind that we're really at the beginning stages with this. I mean, though it's been out for a number of years, so I truly believe that this is going to do nothing but continue to grow and spread itself through all decision-making aspects of coronary artery disease, and when a physician, typical cardiac, evaluations, cardiac enzymes, you take the blood test. There's a whole, gamut of things that are done, when evaluate, that a typical cardiologist will, or even a primary care that specializes in cardiac medicine will attempt to perform in patients that have some suspected, either some heart, some family history, as we said, the number one factor in developing coronary disease, or maybe they're just in a higher risk category. So it'll be very interesting to see what what works, what medications work, what non-invasive treatments work. What tends to be methods that work better in certain areas than others. So it's something that I'm always interested in, just on a personal level. Obviously, as someone that is not a practitioner and is not I'm not a medical doctor. I never try to give any advice or take one opinion over another because I just don't have the background for it like you have, but or the other physicians I work with have. But it will be very interesting to track this.
Oh, it will be. By the way, I think you said the magic word. Here's what I'm going to predict. Now let's see if 3 or 4 years hence I'm right. I predict this. I predict that the insurer, once it starts to evaluate the evolution of these scores over time, because we're right at the baby stages right now, we're just getting started. But after 4 or 5 or 6 years of this, to see, okay, they're covering this test up to what might be every 3 months, okay? Because you're allowed to do it every 4 times a year, right? In some cases, isn't that correct? And so if they continue to see that the disease advances, okay, over time and not detained in any way, I'm going to predict that they cut the number down in terms of how frequently they're going to allow you to do the test. I think they're always going to like this test, but they're going to find out, hey, the frequency of these tests really isn't mattering so much. And so why are we going to be paying out this amount of money to get this testing done so frequently? I actually see that as a possibility. I won't like it. For someone like me, it will really cut into me deeply. I would not want to see a limitation in the number of times I could use the test. But I think insurers thinking as they think, and you know how they think, because I think I know how they think, may very well do something like that if these scores can't get turned around. And only time will tell, but I claim that my conventional medical colleagues are at a severe, and I mean a severe disadvantage. Once again, my commercial, not yours, Jerry. This is not where you need to step. I can appreciate that. But I'm just looking at the board, and then to find out that last week we have a phone call coming to you where a physician is saying, essentially, and I'm paraphrasing now, look, this is this wonderful test, but Jerry, what can I do about this? Okay, what got to help me here? I don't know what to tell these people. They're mad as hell. They want to do something about it, and I'm having some trouble. Now that's my paraphrasing, but essentially that was what the request was, and hopefully we can help her. Maybe I'll have a chance to talk to her. Didn't work out that day, where we could actually even get hooked up with her, even though we tried. Okay, but someday in the near future, probably. Okay, Jerry. Jerry.
Absolutely, Dr. Courtney.
All right. We're coming up with just a few minutes left. We're trying to lay out up and coming. Now, we haven't come up with a May date yet. We will have one, though, in the very near future, right, Jerry? Hopefully, we're trying to get our own machine in here, and we want to make sure that we utilize you in the most appropriate way. Your company has been so helpful. We want to be able to have you come back in the month of May, and hopefully we'll be able to announce that date sometime in the very near future. Correct?
Yeah, I think we'll have to talk for Dr. Courtney about what might work and what our options might be. But I know certainly, for the patients that have already done the MCG testing, and which I know we have quite a number out there, and the ones that are interested in it, we will have at some point, a full-time machine in the office that can, that will always be available. So yeah, we'll have to figure out the logistics of all that, Dr. Courtney. Absolutely.
Okay. Jerry, I want to thank you for allowing us to invade your morning one more time. Friday's always a fun day for me, Jerry, because Saturday and Sunday are coming up, and I know how much you look forward to it also. We'll be talking to each other frequently, I'm guessing, the up-and-coming week. I will be looking forward to I know we're going to do something special with the I group coming in here in the second week of May, because we really do need to test them, and I think you and I are on the beam to be able to handle that crowd. And then we'll bring it back always with you have a new paper, new research paper, something new coming up with your device. I'm always going to share it with the listeners.
Great. Fantastic. Thank you very much, Dr. Courtney.
Okay. We'll see you, Jerry. Have a wonderful weekend. I'll be talking to you soon.
Thanks a lot.
All right. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Straight out of the horse's mouth. And I do truly believe that this thing about bringing MCG testing in the office has turned out to be a real pleasure for me. I'm having the opportunity to meet people that, they tell me they've been listening to this show for a long time, and it was this test that brought them out of the closet, so to speak, brought them out into the daylight, because they heard a message that had some real potentially great way to look at their own health. And when we go over the testing, and I'd like to see that their insurances work for them, so we're actually able to meet and really allow their insurances, where so much in the past they had to come out of their pocket. Now, with this test, the insurances rule the day. They are being covered. Our initial contact is being covered, and so I want you all to keep that in mind if you're contemplating ultimately doing this MCG testing. Also, I truly believe that we will change these scores. You know, we're just getting the first few sets of people. I think our number total is 80 right now, 80 plus, somewhere right around 80. And as the clock marches on, we're going to be seeing those changes become self-evident. And I'll be announcing them to you as they do occur. And I think they're going to occur with frequent regularity. These improvements are going to show themselves for what they truly are. And I believe the blemish of the conventional medical model will be enlightened even more and heightened even more in terms of the dichotomy between one and the other. So, I thank you so much for listening today. Looking forward to being with you. Don't forget, on Monday now, I'm going to be talking about thyroid disease, sort of behind the curtain once again. I'm going to be giving you those 6 blood tests so that you can keep your own doctor straight on the matter, and share with you some real clinical pearls that I think I've been able to gather over the last few years on this particular subject. Bongos in the background say it's our time out of here now. Have a wonderful weekend. So on Monday morning I'll be back. Until then, this is Dr. Dennis Courtney saying so long for AM Impact on your health.
AM Impact on Your Health is sponsored by Dennis J. Courtney, MD, Director of the Courtney Medical Group, located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray, Pennsylvania. For more information